What's up, my hunting brothers and sisters? Today we're talking saddle hunting 101 and using aiders with your climbing sticks to take you to heights you never thought possible with minimal equipment. So as always, stay tuned. So this is kind of another 101 of saddle hunting video, but I get a lot of questions. I see a lot of guys on social media and stuff asking about how to get higher up in a tree, how high can you get, and what about using aiders, and even what are aiders, okay? There's all these terms in saddle hunting that can be so intimidating if you're new to it, and they don't have to be. And an aider, like what is an aider? Like seriously. All an aider is typically a flexible type of step to allow you to get more height out of a climbing stick, okay? For example, I got some Eastern Woods Outdoors climbing sticks here. This applies to any brand. It doesn't matter what kind of brand of climbing stick you have. But when you have a climbing stick, that's basically as a two-step stick. Now these steps are spaced 20 inches apart. So if you just ran the math and said, well, I could step 20 inches, some are 18 inches, well, 20 inches off the ground, and then you set another stick, so you got a 20-inch space. Obviously, in 3 or 4 sticks, you can't get all that high. So these aiders are a flexible step that can hang down off of your bottom step to get you higher, okay? Now, the aiders that I have here are made by a company called Altimator. This one here is a little twisted up from when I had it packed up, but no big deal. These are made by Altimator, but it doesn't matter. There's a gazillion types out there. There's what they call Sony aiders. You can use, there's some sticks that have cable aiders. You can buy cable aiders to add to them, which is basically just a metal cable loop that's, you know, in like a plastic insulator, basically. It kind of looks like really stiff wiring. You can use Amsteel. When I first did this, I made Amsteel rope loops and used some garden hose as my actual where to put my foot. There's a gazillion ways you can do this. I like the Altimators just because they're commercially made, they're adjustable. I have mine taped off so they don't move because I got them spaced where I want them. And then they've got a somewhat semi-rigid step in the bottom portion of them, so I like them. But as you can see, you know, if we go with a stick with no aider, that would be probably where I'd put my first step. Okay, now because I've got an aider, I can put my stick clear up like this. And so now all of a sudden, I'm about 6 foot tall, so that's about 7.5 foot to the top right there, you know, in that. So that's what an aider is, and that's what it's used for. So I was talking to a buddy of mine, I was showing him this, and he looked at that and he's like, no way. There's no way I'm stepping on a flexible step. And I said the same thing when I first started saddle hunting. I was like, that just looks like an accident waiting to happen. And it really isn't. The more you do it, the more you use them, the more comfortable you get with them. So I'm going to show you the basics of using an aider. And I'm going to put this stick up on the tree here real quick. Okay, once you get your stick up there and you're properly seated into the tree, I like to have that first step for my first aider somewhere around knee height. I got it maybe a couple inches higher than that from the ground. As I go up higher, I'll set that a little bit different. Like if I'm standing on the top of the next step, I'll have that step somewhere like at the bottom of my kneecap is where I like it, okay? So again, there's some key fundamentals to this, okay? When you step into and onto an aider, make sure you've got a good hold before you transfer your weight up, okay, onto the stick. So when you put your foot into the aider, people make mistakes because they put the aider too far forward. Like here, I'm at the front of my arch near the ball of my foot. That's not stable. My foot's going to want to rock, okay? You don't want to get quite under your heel, but in a boot scenario where you've got the heel, I like that aider right up tight to the back of that heel, okay? The next thing is you have to put your toe square into the tree. It has to. If you put it to the side, it's going to want to do this, and you're going to probably get a little bit nervous, okay? And hopefully you're tied off. Me, I typically throw my linesman belt around when I get up to this step right here. It's a little chilly. Okay, so with your toe planted firmly square into the tree, okay, and a good hold on the stick, okay, you're going to step up onto, and you can see how tight it is. Now, if I was not planted, this is what would happen, okay? If I wasn't planted, I can't go up anywhere because I'm side loading it, okay? But you're gonna go straight in. Once you practice this, it is so easy to do, okay? But you're going to be straight in, and then your next step, you're gonna come up here, and you're gonna go straight in. It really helps to have boots that are stiff. These actually aren't very stiff, but I actually kind of like climbing in these. But the stiffer your boots are, the easier it is. And from there, again, look, I've got a hold of this top step like handlebars, like I'm riding a bike. Okay, from there, I'm going to step up, grab the tree, and now I am on the bottom step and I'm secure. I can throw my linesman belt around and go on up. I'm gonna jump down, reposition the camera, and I'm gonna show you how then to make the transition to the next step. And then we'll talk about coming down. All right, so we've gotten to the top of that first step and we're ready to put our second step up. Now I like just a one-step aider, but there's guys that do 2- and 3-step aiders the higher they go. Beyond my first stick, I just like a one-step. I keep it simple going up from that standpoint. So how I'm gonna set this on the tree is I'm gonna set it so that the stick height is somewhere around, when I step, somewhere around maybe the bottom of my kneecap. So that means when I put it on the tree, I wanna go maybe about the top of my kneecap because it's gonna set, okay? It's gonna move just a little bit. And I'm gonna put my stick on. And again, I really like, the Amsteel guy makes these USA Ultimate Stick Attachment. I use the very basic one. I do a trucker's hitch. Man, they lock your sticks on so secure, and you can use them, as far as I know, with any stick out there. So there you go, okay? Let's get this up out of the way here real quick. All right, so now it's seated, and you can see my step is right about mid kneecap, okay? So now, to do this, you're gonna let out some in your linesman belt, okay? So you wanna give yourself some room to step, okay? And I usually come up with a system. I always step up initially with my right foot. It's just the way I like to do it. I'm comfortable with it. I've learned the pattern and how it all works, okay? So basically, again, what you're gonna do, you got a seated stick, make sure everything's secure, you got a little extra room in your linesman belt, you're leaning out. Grab that top handle, or those top steps of your stick, bring your foot up, and get it in that aider. Now, there's no shame. If you need to help position it, do it, okay? You make sure you are comfortable with where that is under your foot. Jam that toe straight into the tree, okay? Hold on, and in one motion, what I do then is, I come up, just like that. And I grab the tree up here rather than holding down low. I keep my right hand, I grab the tree, my left hand is still on that top step. I get there, I'm secure, I'm comfortable. I can bring my linesman belt up and I can step all the way on up and I can tighten my linesman belt and I can keep going. And I just repeat this up the tree. I go all the way up and that's what I do. Now, coming down, and especially in the dark, can be very intimidating, okay? I use a little green clip-on headlamp on my bill of my cap so I can see. Again, what I do is I come down to, as I'm coming down, I get down onto this bottom step. My next step is going to be into the aider, okay? I let just a little bit out in my linesman rope, and I take my linesman rope down to about here. And now I'm kind of, you can see now I'm kind of in a squatting position, okay? Both of my feet are on there, my linesman belt. Never take your linesman belt below where it's connected. You never want a downward angle. Keep it level to just slightly up, My right hand is holding onto the tree like this. I'm going to come and I'm going to grab that top step, okay? For some reason going down, I've just started doing it left-footed, which is the way I do it, and I can lean over and look, and I step on down in, and I get my foot in there, and I make sure I like where my foot's at on the step, okay? And I put that toe square in there, okay? At that point, I can take and drop my linesman belt down just a little bit, and I can in one motion step down to that next step. Now I'm secure on that next step down, okay? I can get my foot out of there. Sometimes coming down, you got to help your foot. Depends how flexible you are. I'm not the most flexible person. And here we are. We're back on secure 2 feet on a step situation. So that's all there is to it. And then you're going to take your gear down and go right on down. That is the basics of climbing with an aider. Again, I cannot preface this enough. You need to go out and practice in the off season. Do not wait till your first day out hunting to do all this, okay? Just don't do it. Practice, come out in the woods and just practice going up and down, up and down. Come out in an evening when the light's getting low. Do it, up and down. Get familiar with this stuff because you want to stay safe. It's safe climbing on these, but you have to just learn the basic mechanics of that flexible step. Again, putting your foot on the step properly and digging that toe, biting that toe right into the tree works best. Get yourself stiff boots. Okay, tennis shoes actually are horrible. I hate doing it in tennis shoes. So put on some good stiff boots and get out there and do it. And it really isn't bad, and you can get much higher. As you can see, in 2 20-inch sticks where let's say you had 40 and 40, so you're under 8 feet. You're probably 7 feet or so if you were not using aiders. And now up here to the top, I mean, my feet right here are probably 7.5 feet. And then I got another, 5, well, I'm 6 foot tall, so 5 feet on top of that. So I'm already at 12 feet, just right there, thereabouts 12 and a half, maybe, pushing 13. I could if I want to stretch them out. The only other thing I'll say is the more you bulk up in colder weather, you need to set your gaps less, and you need to give yourself a little more room to work with. Maybe let a little more out in your linesman belt, so you can make those steps. But early season is much easier. The later it goes, you need to just slow it down. Don't space things out as far and take your time. And if you practice enough, you get good at it. It's no big deal. So there you go. That's basically it when it comes to the 101 of climbing with aiders. Get out and practice. As always, stay safe. Saddle hunting is probably as safe as you're ever going to get when it comes to elevated stand hunting. So, always be safe and wear all your safety gear. God bless. Hope deer seasons have been great for you this year. And it's a new day in the outdoors.